Today, let's talk about the Fearless Aura System. Fearless provides additional critical strike rating. We amplify through the aura. And Frenzy Furious. Through Rage, we can gain additional critical strike rating. Then we can through increasing the limit of Rage. I made a table here. With 150 Rage, there's a 30% additional critical strike rating. Fearless is 22%. Then the weapon and the spirit magic. This weapon has 500 critical strike rating. Then we need to add its base value. Even if we add 10% at the base value, it only adds 50 points. Actually, the weapon only adds 50 points of base value. But the spirit magic adds 115 critical strike rating. Then add the friend of the spirit magic. The friend of the spirit magic is particularly good for those builds lacking attack speed and critical strike rating. It's particularly friendly. You don't need to keep it up. You can find higher damage slate or defense slate. Here, 115% multiplied by 1.45 equals 166.75%. 166.75%. Let me calculate. How come it doesn't calculate automatically? Let me calculate this. Equals to C45 times 1 plus C47 plus C48. Then directly adding the spirit magics. Critical strike rating is 716.75%. Fervors is ink damage. This series, I filled in randomly. How to calculate fervors? Fervors is just 200%. Then the fervors effect, because Ralph's engraving is very cheap. My current set is based on cost effectiveness. With 94% fervors effect. And what's this here? This series here is data statistics. This one finally needs to be divided by 100. How are the values here calculated? First, it equals the fervors multiplied by the bracket plus fervors effect. Because we will add fervors effect. Finding fervors effect is to get the base value of percentage fervors, then fervors effect plus this series of values is the additional percentage. There are so many. Then, Frenzy Furious, we are now at 121. But it is 5 levels each layer. So here we only count 120. It equals, you see, every 5 points of rage increase by 1% critical strike rating. That is equals G45 divided by 5. Right? Divide by 5 and then by 100. Like this. Is correct. Percentage can be divided. Fearless base value. Now this fearless is still not precise. Fearless, precise, fearless would be better. Calculate this. 7.85% multiplied by 18 plus 45% and plus 124.5%. 124.5% plus 18% and plus 45% plus other things on the body. I won't calculate the rest. I guess you won't be able to find it either. It's 287.5%. Then equals J45 multiplied by K45. Because we already have the aura effect. So the final actual critical hit rate equals. Oh, this also needs to be divided by 100. Because what we ultimately want to calculate is a percentage. It's easier to see that way. Divide by 100. This bracket is wrong. Divide by 100. And then, here. Equals. C49 times 1 plus E45 times 1 plus H45 times 1 plus L45. Actual critical hit rate 92%. This will directly reflect the actual critical hit rate. That means our current critical hit rate is 92%. So we don't need to find lucky. So how can we? Well, how can we make it higher? Let's try. 30 points of rage. Is that okay? Rage is easy to get, right? We'll go again to find a bit more critical strike rating on slate. Look at this slate. There should be. How come he didn't even find critical hit? These are all talent. If he randomly finds a bit more, for example, if he finds another 60 critical strike rating, then it's close to 100%. Getting 60 critical strike rating is so easy. Here, 30 critical strike rating is brand. Then another 30 critical strike rating is brand. Then another 30 critical strike rating is brand. Brand 3 in total. Then I won't look for 60. I'll look for 80 to 120. Then I'll have 100% critical strike rating, which is full. With 100% critical strike rating, we can enjoy the effective instance match. Or critical hit damage. And then the mark. And then what we're going to talk about is the mark. It's an additional critical hit damage. It's like this. Suppose, originally, the mark would increase by 40. It's like increasing this by 150%, by 40%. So for example, if we add 120% critical hit damage, we go from 150% to 275%. This added 125% critical damage, so we become 275%. By doing this, we go up to 345%. By using the mark, we go up to 429%. In the end, the increase in critical hit damage is this much. It's nearly tripled. And as long as we can get a bit more critical hit damage. For example, where did this 125% come from? It's from here. There's 125% here. That's the weapon. We'll still have critical damage. If we forge AT or critical hit damage, it's 240%. Adding 240% is 515%, so the increase is sixfold. Right now, I don't have that much critical hit damage yet. The critical hit damage on the slate is not much either, based on what we have now, from just over 200 to over 600. Did we double it when we finish forging the critical hit damage of X? It was over 100 billion just now. Hold on. By following this method, if we forge a T0 critical hit damage, wouldn't it be over 200 billion? The source of the mark is fixate. This mark is very important. Later on, if we forge another weapon, we can go for dream interpretation, or knockback also works. Knockback mainly increases damage. Overall, this set is relatively cheap. I recommend starting from 0 to time mark 7, and slowly switching to this set. Take a look at this set, with over 100 billion damage. How is it? Cooldown. Ring. Ring. The luck with the weapon is very good. It succeeded on the first try. And then, I'll share the build code later. And then the skill link, Soul Candle has cooldown, which he found himself. Actually, we can find extra damage from defeating enemies, and movement speed, and these. Vulnerability, Bull's Rage. Acuteness Imbue. I admit these two might be a bit funny, but this is a basic framework. Let's take a look at the talent. If you're worried about survival, you can also invest points here. If you're not afraid to die, just like this, take all the life, and not afraid to die. This transition, take open wounds. There's nothing much to open wounds. It's just trash on the slate. Don't copy it. It's very rubbish. This thing is for transition. In the end, it's about Centralize. That's it for these. You found some knockback. This should be quite expensive. This is a slate worth over 55. These three add up to 150. This slate should be 2030 FE. In the end, it's also 300 FE. It's expensive anyway. This weapon also costs quite a bit. Survival is an issue. I also have another set that's very tanky. The overall framework is like this. That's it for today's sharing. Next, I'll also put the build code in the comments below. Okay, that's it for today's video.